Alright, so example 2, let's do another proof. We're given some information and then we're trying to prove that these two triangles are congruent. So the figure looks, a little bit confusing. There's overlapping triangles, but not obvious ones. If you guys can see, this triangle I'm kind of outlining seems to be overlapping with this triangle right here. And those are the triangles that we are trying to prove congruent. So I'm going to go ahead and draw those out just so it's a little bit more clear. FKL, let's see, here we go. Looks something like this. Here's F, here's K, and here's L. We want to prove that this triangle is congruent to J, K, G. And it's not the best picture, but we want to prove those two triangles are congruent, which means we'll be looking to find 3 corresponding parts congruent to 3 corresponding parts over there. So, maybe it'll be side, 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 or angle, side, angle, or one of those. Alright, so let's go ahead and start with our given information. We know that FL is congruent to GJ. So if you look at your big triangle, here is FL, I'll make it a little bit thicker, here is FL right here. That is congruent to, I'll switch colors, GJ right there. Separated out in those separate triangles we drew, here's FL, and here's, I mislabeled that. This, did you guys catch that? Why didn't you tell me? This is supposed to be a J down there. Alright, so those two are congruent. So far we have a pair of congruent sides. Alright, now what else did they tell us? They told us that triangle FKJ, so that's the big triangle, is an isosceles triangle with legs FK and JK. Alright, so remember, if you have an isosceles triangle, that means you have congruent legs. So FK and JK are congruent to each other. And if we look at those in our separate triangles, here's, actually let me put 2 marks on those. Here is FK and here is JK. Alright, so we have 2 pairs of congruent sides so far, and we'll work through the proof and see what else we can get to have congruent triangles. So our statements, FL is congruent to GJ is given. And then we've got our isosceles triangle, that's given. So what did we do after learning that we had an isosceles triangle? That's when we marked these congruent sides right there. So we can go ahead and write that out next, that we have FK is congruent to JK. And how did we know that? That's just your definition of isosceles triangle. Okay. Now, we just learned a theorem that tells us if you have 2 legs that are congruent, that means that their opposite base angles will be congruent. So we can say that this angle is congruent to this angle. So that's the angle at J. Here's that one. So basically this angle right here is in this triangle right there. And then this angle at F is right there. So those are the 2 congruent triangles. So let's go ahead and say that. Let's say that angle J is congruent to angle F. And that's your base angle theorem. That's the new one we just learned. Alright, so looks like next we're able to say that our 2 triangles are congruent. Well, how do we know? We have a side, an included angle, and another side. So that's going to be your side, angle, side congruency. And now we have congruent triangles.